Okay, welcome to my first video on my new channel. First proper video anyway, since Life is a Game Gaming. And I thought I would start with my top 50 Switch games. Now, maybe I'll talk about these in detail with videos in my up and coming videos. But at the moment, all you're going to get is this screen as games that I've ordered in preference. So let's start with number 50, Earth Atlantis. By the way, this is just games that I've played and own on my system. I'm not infinitely rich and I do not pirate every game, so I haven't played all of them. This is just a selection of the games that I've bought, which is over 100 games, so this is top 50. Okay, starting with Earth Atlantis, right? This is a weird game. Sort of black and white submarine battling boss type thing. Quite cheap, quite often on sale. Got this off the eShop. Well worth a try if you like your submarine shooting games. Very hard. Right. Coming in at number 49 is Pato Box, which is like a boxing sort of revenge game. I think I bought this because I thought it would be like Punch Out, and it kind of is, and it kind of isn't. It's its own thing. It's different. It's a little bit like Mad World meets Punch Out type thing. You have these like crazy boss battles and fight and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it's quite hard, but worth checking out. So that's number 49, Pato Box. Number 48 is Football Manager 21 Touch. Yeah, for ages I always wanted to play Football Manager on the go, and I got it on the PSP, and I was going to get it on the PS Vita if I ever got one of them, but I never did. So it was one of the first things I bought on this, and one of the reasons to buy it. Is it good? Yes, it's good, but these games are suited towards PCs, so not exactly the best version of it, but it's still good fun. I need to put more hours into it, but I don't want to waste like whole months of my life like I used to. But yeah, it's good. Enjoying that one. So that's FM 21 Touch, Football Manager 21 Touch at number 48. So at number 47 is House of the Dead Remake. Now, this would be higher on my list if the light gun component actually worked properly on the Switch, but unfortunately it's not like the Wii where you had a sensor bar and everything. So it's not ideal, but it's good. Sega and all that, although they didn't directly make this. Yeah, often comes up on sale. If you can find it cheap, I would buy it, but I wouldn't bother with the physical edition or anything like that unless you're a super fan. You can actually use touchscreen controls, which is pretty weird, but it's actually probably the best way to play the game, ironically. Tell me if anyone's bought any of these attachments, which is supposed to make it like a light gun. I can't see it working myself because where's the sensor bar? You need the sensor bar anyway. So that is House of the Dead Remake coming in at number 47, I think that is. So at number 46 is One Strike. Now this is pretty cool. It's like barbarian type thing, fighting game, quick fight scenario. It's very cheap. Like it says, one strike kill. It's as simple as that. There's good DLC for this, I think. Again, it's pennies on the eShop. Definitely one of the bargains on the eShop. So that's One Strike coming in at number 46. At number 45, we have Doom. Now, Doom, classic. Why isn't it higher on this list? Well, because I've played it many times before, and I did that thing that you always do. It's like, oh, I'll buy it on the new thing. I'll definitely finish it, and then you either do or you don't. With Doom, there's a lot of actual levels to it, so it's hard to completely finish it. Anyway, shame there's not many people on the multiplayer aspect of it. So that's Doom at number 45. So at number 44, we have the Bug Butcher, which is one of these walk along, shoot things in the air type things. You're a bug butcher. What else can I say? It's a bit like Pang, them sort of games. Pretty cool, pretty cheap. Got it on the eShop again. So what are we on now? Is it 43? So Gear Club Unlimited is your kind of like standard Forza knockoff on the Switch. It's pretty cool. Haven't explored it much, but there's not that many racing games on the Switch, so it's one of the best looking ones, and it is pretty good, and it is pretty cheap. You'll notice I do like pretty cheap and eShop games on this channel, and that will continue. So that's number 43, Gear Club Unlimited. So at number 42, Hades. Now, why is it so far down the list when it's such a classic? Simply put, I haven't played it enough. I haven't put enough time into it. I do like it, but I don't like the idea that you just have to keep replaying it over and over and over and over and over again, just getting more power-ups each time. That aspect of it I don't like, but the actual gameplay is pretty cool, and I do like that. So that's Hades at number 42. That'll probably go up my list the more I play it, but like anything, you move on to the new things. Okay, so at number 41, Doom 2. What can I say about this? Used to play it on a LAN network at college. Pretty cool. Same version. Switch, pretty good. Lots of DLC again. Online component not there. Well, it's there, but no one's on it. So there's that. So at number 40, we have Wild Hearts, which is really clever sort of rhythm music game that my friend bought for me, which is very kind of him. And it took me a while to play it, but when I did, it was pretty cool. And I see why he bought it for me, because it's really quite different. So that's Wild Hearts at number 40. So at number 39, we have Rogue Aces. Really enjoyed this one. Haven't played it much for a while, but what I did play, I really enjoyed. It's very cheap. One of these, flying World War II, World War One type shooting games with a quirky art style. It's pretty cool. I want to be playing that more in the future, I think. So, what are we up to now? Let me just count the screen. 8. So is it 38 now? Sin Mora X. This is pretty cool. Another sort of flight sim, scrolling. Let's get vertical and horizontal mixed up. Vertical, horizontal, horizon. It's a horizontal shoot 'em up. Really nice graphics. Something to do with a guy who made the No More Hero games, I think, and some other people made this. Pretty cool. You don't have lives, you just have time. Every time you get hit, you lose a bit of time. It's quite clever. Good boss fights. Reminds me of Earth Atlantis a little bit, but better and in the air. So yeah, that's my review of that. So we're on 37 now, I think. Star Wars Pinball. You get lots of different Star Wars boards on this. It's good to have a bit of pinball on the old Switch. Isn't much else to say about this. It's Star Wars and it's pinball. So there you go. Number 36, we have The Hong Kong Massacre, sorry, which Keanu Reeves said that the film with a 4 in it, what's it called? Where they kill the dog. Bill Wick? I was going to say Bill Wick then. John Wick. John Wick 4. He said this game inspired a scene in the movie, even though basically this game was inspired by Hotline Miami, which you'll see later on. But apparently, yeah, the inspiration came from this. I can see why, because this is more realistic, photorealistic. The Hotline Miami is more cartoonish. Anyway, moving on. So what are we on now? 35, are we? Double Dragon, Gaiden, Rise of the Dragons. Now, some people might say that they don't like this game because it's not a true Double Dragon game, whatever the fuck that means, because at this point there's so many shit Double Dragon games. What even is a Double Dragon game? This is like a reboot that honours the original, but you've also got one character where you can shoot people. So that's not very Double Dragon, is it? But that's just 1 out of 4 characters. I think that's the old girlfriend. Is it Marion from the old series? I can't remember. Just think of this as an alternative version of this, sort of riding on the back of Streets of Rage 4 and Turtles, whatever the hell that game's called. My memory is going. I'm like an Alzheimer's patient, I swear down. But this is more like the Turtles one than it is the Streets of Rage 4 one. But it's still pretty good fun. So coming in at number 34, we have Broforce. Broforce is like a copyright wet dream. I don't know how they got away with this. They basically nick all the action heroes from the 80s and 90s and put them in a game. How they got away with this, I don't know. Were they sued? Did they pay royalties? I don't know, but it's blatantly obvious who all these characters are. You know, you have like Rambo and the Terminator and Chuck Norris and people like that. It's just insane. Even Robocop's in it. I can't even remember now. It's just an insane roster of like people from your youth. Anyway, so now we have Bridge Strike. Bridge Strike is a sort of don't know whether it's a remake of an Atari game, but it's kind of, or a sequel, but it's kind of like that. It's a very simple game, just shoot like bridges and ships and get quotas and stuff like that. It's sort of game where they'd have an advert in the 90s of someone sat on a bus playing it like before they went to work. No one ever does that, by the way. But if they were gonna, then this would be a good game to play, because you can play it in like 30-second bursts and all that. So what are we up to now? Forgive me if I get the numbers wrong. Is it 30, 33 or 32? Fuck knows. Dex. Anyway, Dex. So yeah, this is how do I describe this? Cyberpunk RPG, action adventure. It's got everything. It's uber complicated, like The Matrix meets, what was that film that Keanu Reeves had before The Matrix that completely flopped, where he's like controlling things with his mind and shit. So it's a bit like that. That's where it lost me, the game, controlling stuff with my mind, because I was like, okay, so I'm walking along, but I'm also controlling the elements of the world whilst also jumping and trying to hit this guy in the face. I'm not that good at multitasking. But this is another game that's quite cheap. It's from the same people who brought you One Strike, I think. They do a lot of these cheap games, and they are just they're good if you're on a budget like I was. It's a great little interesting game, under £1 sometimes even. So next we have Wii Sports. I don't know what number we're up to here. Well, I'm just going to count it. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I don't know. The 20th bottom one. What is that? 31, something like that. Anyway, Nintendo Switch Sports, not really as good as what it was inspired by, Wii Sports, and it's more or less unchanged from that. But who doesn't like a bit of sporting action? Eh? I did an experiment on it, see if I could lose weight over a 30-day period. Shock horror, I didn't, even though I played it every day. It's not the level of exercise that's really gonna make a difference, to be honest. Anyway, so number 30, we have Pocket Mini Golf. This is a pocket mini golf game where you can play it in your pocket. It's like mini golf but on the Switch. What else can I say? But it's cheap, obviously. Doom 64. This comes in at number 29. Why is it ahead of the other Doom games? Is it better? No, I've just never played the original, and therefore this was quite interesting to me. Um, we'll see the test of time as to whether it's better than the other ones. Maybe it'll go down in my list, who knows. I need to play it more, like all of these games. Right, coming in at number 28, we have Hot Shot Racing. First played this on Game Pass. Exactly the same game. It's pretty cool. If you like Daytona USA, it's Daytona USA meets sort of virtual racing with like modern mechanics, and if you prefer your arcade races, this is great. There's lots of different modes. It's cool. Anyway, yeah, I've lost track of the numbers again. Is it 27 now? No More Heroes 2, Desperate Struggle. Um, just a part of the Wii version with worse controls. But I don't have the Wii version anymore because someone stole it, so that's why I got it. Again, I bought it online, got it cheap. These are quite often on sale. I want to play No More Heroes 3, but I wanted to finish this first, but then I'm not playing it enough. But I think it's better than the first game. First game's often on sale as well. But I played it and finished it a long, long time ago, so won't be downloading that myself. Anyway, what are we on now? So, 26. Virtua Racing, which is just a port of Virtua Racing. Pretty good port as well. What else to say about that? It's not going to cost you 70 quid and you can download it. Usually quite cheap. I say 70 quid because that's what they used to charge you for it on the Mega Drive and 32X. And it's a better version if you ask me. Shock horror. Okay, coming in at number 24, we have Death and Taxes, which is a really good game. It's the sort of game you can't really play again. Oh, well, actually, I did play it a few times, but the story is more or less the same. Although, it depends on the choices that you make as to the ending of the story, and I got the worst ending first go because I picked all the choices that I thought were going to be the right ones, and I got unlucky. I picked basically Donald Trump to live, and then the whole world ended up collapsing, which is what might happen this year. So I made sure I didn't make that mistake when I did that last time. Like one guy saving to not kill one guy ruined my whole game. And in fact, everyone on the planet died because I didn't kill that one guy. Yeah, so if I'm going to explain your death and you've got to select who lives and dies, and you're supposed to kill a certain amount of people every day and all this sort of stuff, and you were created using onions or something. It's convoluted, but anyway, it's good fun. It's a good story game if you like story games. Right, so coming up to, is it number 24 are we on now? Who knows? Eternal. So this is a free-to-play game for you cheap bastards. Um, yeah, it's one of them card games things where you use cards to battle people. Some people hate these games. I'd never played one, and I thought I'll give it a try, and it actually surprised me how good it was, especially for free. The only thing I can say about these games is don't get too addicted, because if you have to pay, you'll end up paying an absolute fortune. So just let the game defeat you if it means that you don't have to pay. Okay, so there's my advice on gambling. Okay, so coming up to, is it number 23? Total Shredder's Revenge. This would be higher if I had played it more, but for whatever reason, I haven't. Um, I wanted to love it as much as Streets of Rage 4, but I haven't. Probably no fault of the game. I just haven't. I mean, I found it hard. It's the same guys who made Streets of Rage 4, and I have finished it once, but like these sort of games, you're supposed to finish them lots of times. Um, well, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. You can play it for 2 seconds, but you know what I mean. As a gamer, you feel like, oh, I've got to finish it loads of times, and I haven't yet, so maybe I will. Um, I love the original arcade game, and it's a bit like that, but they're never going to recapture that feeling that I had for that game, because that is tied very much to childhood, and it's not as great as I thought it was, but retro is one hell of a drug. Right, so coming up to, is it number 22? So we have Hotline Miami Collection, which is two Hotline Miami games. I always wanted to play these. There was a PC version a long time ago, and now this is on the Switch. Controls work pretty well with it. It's kind of like murder simulating game. Also got that sort of vibe of, what's that TV show? Lost on Mars sort of thing. Are you really here? Is this really happening? Type thing. Um, anyway, yeah. So moving on to, I think, is it 22? I really need to learn how to count. I'm supposed to be good at maths, but this is like an ADHD thing for me. Anyway, Hunt Down, number 22. This is pretty cool. Side scrolling, shoot 'em up, lots of weapons, but bounty hunters shooting people. Pretty hard, but rewardingly good. Anyway, yeah, usually quite cheap. Number 21, 80s Overdrive, which is like a sort of arcade outrun type thing with RPG mechanics, upgrade your car, new cars and nitros and all sorts of things, make money, like pretend to be Arnold Schwarzenegger as your icon. No, that won't make any sense if you haven't played the game, but it's pretty cool. Pretty much finished it, except one level, which is almost impossible, but I can live with that. Anyway, so what are we left with? I actually think this is, we'll go 8, 6, 9, counting people. Okay, so we're on 19. Arcani, is it? Can't pronounce that. It's one of the first games I got on the cheap, Freudian slip, on the Switch. It's pretty much one life, kill as many people, respawn, try again. Again, another great sort of, if you're on the bus and you want to kill time type thing. I think you can use motion controls on this. I can't remember. Long time since I played it, but I really, really loved it for like 99 pence or whatever it was. Okay, so I think this is 18. Vampire Saviors. I think you've all heard of this game, probably. Sort of, people think of it as a mobile game, and it is kind of a game where people that don't have a clue about games can play, I guess. In fact, if you do know about games, you're probably at a disadvantage with this, because it's kind of like you just walk around and your weapons fire automatically, and it's more like playing dodgems than it is like shooting anyone or whatever. But anyway, I digress. Usually quite cheap. You can upgrade your character, RPG mechanics, and all that. Okay, so number 80, Game Dev Tycoon, the only game that this company have currently made. And you could say it's a rip-off of another game on this list, but I wouldn't possibly say such a thing. Um, Basically, you're a game developer tycoon, and you develop games and sell them and make money. Except you don't, because it's all just text on the screen. If you understood that, great. If you don't, I'm not going to elaborate. Okay, so where are we now? Number 17, is it? Mayhem Brawlers, which is like Streets of Rage 4 inspired game, with superhero police type people, um, and you beat people up. And yeah, it's not as good as Streets of Rage 4, but it's cheaper and it's good fun. And there's a sort of comic book element to it. And I'm not going to explain what I mean by that. Okay, so number 17, Mind Scanners, probably one of the most original games on this list. How do I describe this? Well, it's kind of like your daughter's locked up somewhere and you've got to get her back, and you're living in a dystopian like future, a bit like this Tory party, and it's all about control and mind control and saying people are mental when they're not, and conditioning the minds, and oh, you can get money for that as well. Yeah, it's a pretty cool game. Okay, so number, what are we on now? 14, is it? Into the Breach. Um, I was looking for an Advance Wars type game because there wasn't any around at the time, and this sort of ticked the boxes. Although to say that it's like Advance Wars is, well, it's like Advance Wars if Advance Wars was unbelievably hard. Um, Still finished it though, but on easy level, and it's one of them games that's practically impossible on hard level. You've got these sort of mechs, and you've got to destroy these alien type things, like out of that film where there's aliens attacking. What's it called? Starship Troopers. Is it something like that? I should know this, but what's my ADHD brain? Anyway, you've got to kill these things, and because actually you didn't, but you're time travelers. So every time you fail and humanity's doomed, you can just go back in time and try again. The infinite loop of trying again ness. So number 13, we have Not Tonight, Take Back Control Edition. Satirical game, not inspired by Brexit whatsoever, whilst also being inspired by Brexit. So it's kind of like, well, basically, um, you know, reform have basically got a super majority and they're super racist and they don't like people that aren't from here. And ironically, you were born in this country, but because your parents were foreign or something like that, then you're classed as a foreigner, and other countries don't want you either. So you're kind of like a refugee, and you got to be a doorman and pay your way whilst also trying to bring the government down. Yeah, cool game. So at number 12, you have Party Hard, which is kind of like if you've got neighbours who make too much noise and you've dreamt about killing them, this is your game. Um, so basically, you're trying to get to sleep and your neighbours are making noise, so you make the logical decision to kill them all and get away with it, and that's the entire game. Yeah, think of like Natural Born Killers, but like a computer game. Anyway, so we have at number 11, we have Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator, which is as confusing as it sounds, except it isn't, because it's a Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator. So you're a Space Warlord trading organs. And yeah, you can have a stock market on organ sales to make money. Yeah, it's not exactly the most moralistic game, but then games aren't exactly moralistic, are they? Anyway, so coming into the top 10, we have number 10, Steve Jackson's Sorcery, The Complete Collection. So it includes the 3 books in the series that he wrote, which were fighting fantasy books. If you don't know what they are, then where have you been for the last, God knows, 40 years? This got me into reading. This is similar. You're reading a screen, but it feels more immersive because you're moving a character around. They've made a few tweaks to the books, and you don't have to roll a dice, but the story is more or less the same. I always wanted to complete it, and now I have. Yes, I cheated a little bit, but you cheat in these books. Otherwise, the guy who started it 40 years ago would still be trying to bloody beat it today. Anyway, number 9, we have Shakedown Hawaii, which is like the second in the series of games of like piss taking, like Grand Theft Auto, but from a retro point of view. So this is like, the first game was a 80-bit version, and this is a 16-bit version. I haven't actually played the other one, Retro Rampage or something like that. I'm going to get that soon. This tends to be a bit more expensive, but the story in this is spot on. So funny. And you just basically this idiot businessman who's trying to make money with idiotic ideas that actually work, a bit like Donald Trump. Anyway, so at number 8 you have Skulls of the Shotgun Bonafide Edition, which is, again, it's like a sort of Advanced Wars type game where you play a general who's dead or undead and you're in the afterlife, but someone stole your crown as Supreme Lord of the Afterlife or something. Very Japanese inspired. Good humour, pretty funny. You eat skulls to get stronger. That's the vibe of this game. Right, at number 7 we have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. If you don't know what Mario Kart is, what rock have you been sitting under? And do you know that there's also a girl that does a hot tour at the moment? Like, if you've been under that rock, you won't know that, and you'll either know what I mean or you won't, and I'm not going to explain it. Anyway, Mario Kart, we all know what that is. It's the 8th version. It's the deluxe version from the Wii U, because no one bought it. This is better, but they're also ripping me off because I have the online thing and I'm supposed to get the pass, but I got a second-hand version of the game, so I don't get the pass, so they've ripped me off. Anyway, maybe that's why I put it lower. So at number 6 we have Arcade Paradise, which is just pretty cool. So you've got this sort of laundrette and you turn it into an arcade, and your dad hates you for doing that. Basically, there's loads of little mini arcades in it that you can play, and it's pretty cool and they're all pretty addictive, sort of 80s style arcade. So you get lots of games. Got this on sale under a tenner, well worth it on lots of formats. Okay, so at number 5 we have Game Dev Story, which is a really old game from the 90s that's been ported to the Switch, and like mentioned in Game Dev Tycoon, you've got a game development company and you make games, and it's based on real historic events, so you know you can cheat in that sense because you know what's coming, but you know, you just make games and buy licenses to make games and hire staff, all that sort of thing. If you like business games, this is great. It's very addictive, it's very fun, it's very simple. So coming in at number 4 we have Ring Fit Adventure. Pretty much the reason I bought this Switch, to be honest. I've always done the sort of extra gaming, which no one ever says extra gaming anymore. Not that they ever did at the time. But yeah, really great way of incorporating gaming more than anything else has incorporated gaming and having a workout. Because it's like an RPG where you work on your character and you work on a story and you know, get abs or whatever. I haven't got abs, but you know, I haven't played it for a while. Sue me. Anyway, Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp is at number 3. This is Advance Wars 1-2 Reboot Camp, which is a reboot of Advance Wars 1-2. Would have come out a lot earlier if there wasn't actually a real war in Ukraine. And they didn't want to really promote that for whatever reason. But anyway, it's a strategy game. It's pretty much, well, 2 strategy games. 2 of the best strategy games ever. Can't see what they've changed. Apparently they've changed things, but just looks different to me. But yeah, it's cool. It's the only online game I've ever paid 50 quid for and still not regretted. So at number 2 is F-Zero 99, free to play game. Free asterisk as long as you're actually paying for the online Nintendo subscription, which no one wants to pay for. But this alone kind of makes it worth it if you're like me and you know, like playing people online that you might actually be able to beat, because I'm actually quite good at this game, but I started off really bad. But I've practiced and practiced and practiced, and there's league tables and there's points and there's courses, and it's like the ones of the SNES game but better, and they add into it all the time, and it's good. And I came in the top 100 of most of the leaderboards. Actually, top 20 once, I think. They do like a weekly one, so it's good. Good little dopamine hit. Then at number 1 is Streets of Rage 4. If you've never heard of Streets of Rage, what rock have you been living under and why don't you know the Hawk Girl? Streets of Rage 4, which is a sequel to Streets of Rage 3, which I don't care what anyone says is not better than Streets of Rage 2, mainly because of the soundtrack. But anyway, and also the fact that it was too hard, unless you got the Japanese version. But I digress, because this, it's probably almost as good as Streets of Rage 2 now. Really, it's better, but, you know, retro is one hell of a good drug, so there. But I mean, you kind of got Streets of Rage 2 in this game, because you can play all the old characters from that and the original game and the third game and all these new characters and some of the bosses, and you can pay DLC, and it's the best, one of the best DLCs ever, and you can have infinite matches, and you can have customized modes, and you can have a boss rush, and you can just button bash and think that you're good and then get owned, and yeah, all of these things. But it's just, it's so good that it managed to bring a genre back that had been destroyed. 2D beat 'em ups, like, single-handedly brought them back because it was that good. And the soundtrack, although not as good as the second one, obviously, because what is still one of the best of this generation, and for quite a long time. And some of the original guys are on it, and the French guy does a good job of replicating that sound, and another guy who does the DLC music, can't remember what his name is, but he does a good job as well. And all the music's available on YouTube, by the way, if you want to listen to it. Why don't you go for a walk in the park, if you have a park, and listen to it on your headphones. It's really fun. Anyway, that's my video. So, like, subscribe. I'll be doing more videos. If you want me to cover any of these games, let me know, and that'll motivate me to actually create a video on these games. Otherwise, I just sit here looking at my 12 views and being like, what am I doing with my life? Anyway, okay. More videos coming soon, but it's good to get the first one done. Adios.